And now, Wyatt Pauly.
It's all been fun. Now I have to run. I'm done. A fading trend. We're at the end. My friend, I don't want to be a slave to my routine. I don't think I want to have to intervene. I don't want to be the ghost in the machine. I don't think I want to light the gasoline. Hard to say, but it's true. Tough to take, but it's true. No regrets, but it's true. Hard to say, but it's true. You do you. We had our day. It didn't go our way. To my dismay, from sweet to sour at the 0 hour. Imbalance of power. You don't want to be the one to instigate. I don't think you want to have to suffocate. You don't want to be the one who sets it straight. I don't think you want to be my running mate. Hard to say, but it's true. Tough to take, but it's true. No regrets, but it's true. Hard to say, but it's true. You do you. I don't want to be the last one at the scene. I don't think I want to have to intervene. I don't want to be the ghost in the machine. I don't think I want to light the gasoline. Hard to say, but it's true. Tough to take, but it's true. No regrets, but it's true. Hard to say, but it's true. You do.
So, hey, you're listening to Wyatt on the radio, and we're talking right now to JShell, the multi-instrumentalist that has played with guys for like Steve Hackett from Genesis and a bunch of people from The Who and a violinist that's in the Who orchestra. So, how are you, Jay? This is Wyatt.
Hey, Wyatt. Great, man. How are you doing? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Can you explain to us a little bit about this this album of yours?
Hey, Wyatt. Great, man. How are you doing? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Can you explain to us a little bit about this this album of yours?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a veteran in the New York City music scene. I've been in bands for a long time, and I decided to do my own thing, to kind of follow in the footsteps of DIY mentality that people like Prince and Lenny Kravitz, Dave Grohl, Paul McCartney, that kind of thing, where you hear an album that sounds like a full band, but it's really one person doing it all. I decided I wanted to try and tackle that challenge. So I started the process a few years ago, got a little bit delayed by COVID. It came together better than I hoped it would. It's a rock record that has some prog leanings to it. What I wanted to try and do is do catchy songs that had proggy elements to it. So there's a lot going on beneath the surface while the songs remain catchy. And I call it In My Head. The album is coming out on February 14th. I'm in the middle of doing, it's actually an audio-visual album because I decided to make videos for all 15 tracks, and I'm in the middle of a campaign releasing 15 videos in 30 days. Most of them animated. One is a live-action video, and right now we just released the 11th out of the 15 videos yesterday, and the project seems to be gaining momentum and traction. I've been getting some really good reviews on the first single, Haunted, and another single, the one with Steve Hackett on it from Genesis, called You Do You. So things are looking up.
I played You Do You the other day. It was great. It was really cool. And I have a friend from Minnesota. He's a humongous Humphrey McGee fan. He's going to be like, wow, man. I'm going to eat your heart out, Eric. He's in another band called Era Rock.
Yeah, listen, I'm a big, huge Humphreys McGee fan.
Oh, so's this guy.
Yeah, I just saw them. In fact, they played their 25th anniversary concert at the Brooklyn Bowl here in the city, and I went. So we're referring to the fact that Jake Sininger, their guitar maestro, plays on 2 of the tracks on my record, and I discovered Humphreys McGee because when I first got Sirius XM radio, I would be listening from the other room, and every time I'd hear a track that I liked, I'd run out and be like, who is this? And it was always Humphreys McGee. They are basically, a hard rock kind of version of jam bands.
Yeah.
Right up my alley.
Oh, yeah.
The same kind of influences me.
That's great. I mean...
Yeah, so I reached out to them.
Oh, that's that easy, huh? And the guys, you mentioned something about Fish, like the jam band mentality. He's big into that. He's gone to Lemon Wheel, I don't know how many times, when they had it. So, my buddy Eric, once again, I'm talking about. And he turned me on to a lot of stuff like that. And we were in a band called Earth Dog here for a while in Florida. And we played a lot. But it was basically... We had a few songs, the kind of like in song format, and then they would just go off into who knows what, and then just play for about a half an hour the same thing and kind of come back in. We tried our best to do it. We're only a 3-piece, so there wasn't a whole lot of room for, improvisation.
Yeah, well, that's great. Listen, I think your buddy Eric and I would be friends. I've been
Oh yeah, man, he's a drummer. He's a drummer, actually. Yeah. He plays to a click and everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole jam band scene. That's why I...
Oh, man, he's going to love this.
Humphreys and I got Scott Metzger on my record, who is another guitar maestro, plays with Joe Russo's Almost Dead. And I just saw them for their 10th anniversary at the Brooklyn Bowl. I'm a big jam band guy. I love getting lost in the music, and when bands like yourselves, go off.
Yeah, I'm a big Black Crowes fan.
Improv excursion.
I'm a big Black Crowes fan. They kind of went into that direction, but kind of like the Dead, So, but
listen, Wyatt, you're talking to a huge Black Crowes.
Get out, man, really? It's so hard to find, man.
Yeah, they're so great. They did a show when they announced when they got back together. So they did a show here in Manhattan, and they announced it at noon. And literally the venue was about a mile and a half from me. So, but it was first come, first serve. I literally just went down there, got online, and got in to see the show. I love the Crowes.
Oh man, they're so great. I've seen them about 8 times, man. They're just fantastic, and they just get better and better and better. You know, I remember I seen them the first time, and you know it was like their first record. Everyone really liked it, you know. But then that second album came out, Southern Harmony. Good Lord, I still listen to that. I listen to that album all the time. My friend's favorite album is Amorica, but mine is Southern Harmony. I love that record, man. The whole thing about it, everything is fantastic. And Mark Ford.
Southern Harmony is my favorite record by them.
Oh yeah, because they did it like in 1 week. My morning song's the best with that double lead in harmony on the tail end of it. Yeah. I like the devil when my tide turns.
I also love. I also love By Your Side. I think it's an underrated record.
That's
one of the better sounding records.
And that record sounds a lot more like their first album with a lot more catchier songs. That one's Lions was good, but the only good tune on that was the sing along one. Sing along.
Yeah, that was okay.
But that record you're talking about, By Your Side, that one was fantastic. It had like 4 or 5 songs that were just great. Faster.
Oh, yeah,
the opening track, Faster, is great.
Yeah, Go Faster, Kicking My Heart Around. Also, Virtue and Vice, which closes the record. It might be my single favorite Black Crowes tune.
Oh, man, I love Open G because of that. At first, man, I was trying to figure it out. First came out, I'm like, man, what is it? And then this guy I knew, he goes, it's just an open tuning, man. It's like Led Zeppelin. I'm like, really? Okay. And then it was a lot of fun because you were finding, you know what the major chords were in it and whatever, but then you find different voicings that you normally don't find in standard type tuning guitars. So it was really cool. I that opened up my life up for like a good 10 years, man.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And what's great about that record is normally the Crowes are a 2-guitar band. They had obviously Rich Robinson throughout. Usually they had another guy like Mark Ford, or later they had Luther Dickinson for a record. But By Your Side, it was just Rich.
Yeah.
So Rich had to do everything on that record, and he sounds great. And I saw the Crowes this past summer in Atlantic City, and one of the greatest thing about it is Chris Robinson. He can still sing. I was a little weary about, when singers have a long career and are singing songs that are difficult, and you can say that about Chris, as far as the songs he's written and the register he has to get into, and maybe some of the lifestyle choices he's made. I was a little concerned if he was going to be able to hit those notes. He hit them full throat.
Yeah, man.
And he's singing like he did when he was 19, and the guy's in his 50s now. So they're just a tremendous band.
I agree 100%, man. All the songs you named, man, they're fantastic. I love them. They're a great band. Absolutely. Yep. So tell us, okay, you told us about Humphrey McGee. How about Steve Hackett? How'd you manage that one? That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you know what? I just asked. Again, Genesis is probably my favorite band. I grew up listening to Three Sides Live and Seconds Out. I love the period in Genesis when, I love the Peter Gabriel years, but when Phil Collins took over, they continued to be a really heavy prog band, and live they were incredible. And Steve was still in the band at the time until he left in like '77. But anyway, Steve Hackett in recent years has been doing a lot of Genesis material. He's been doing full Genesis records, and I've been going to see him, and I saw him at the Beacon Theater. It was a tremendous show, and I remember waking up on a Sunday morning, and I was still feel it from the night before, and I decided, I went to his website and I just said, hey, why don't I just ask him?
Yeah.
Play a solo guy.
What's the worst? You're a musician. The worst thing that could happen is no.
Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, the worst they can do is just say no. You know what I mean? We're used to that.
Yeah. And so I went to his website, and there's a general email address, and I attached a couple clips of projects I've been in, and I just said, hey, would you mind? And he got back to me an hour and a half later, personally. He said, sure, I'll do it. And I gotta say, he's been the nicest, the most gentlemanly person I've ever met in this music industry. He's just been there every step of the way. He did the solo. I met him backstage, did a photo thing with him. He even did a video intro for me for You Do You for the video, and he just helped me promote it by doing a Twitter thing. He's just been a tremendous, tremendous guy. Just a sweetheart of a guy, and he nailed it. He really came through with his textbook sound, and it inspired me to go down the prog rabbit hole in that song. The song is one of two basically ballads on the record, I guess you would say. But
Right.
When I say ballad, there's still a heaviness to it, and it made me really want to get some of those proggy 70s kind of sounds in there because he inspired me with what he did. And so, yeah, it's been just a tremendous honor for him to even consider being on my record, and it's been a great experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Steve Hackett did a project called GTR with Steve Howe, right?
Yes, he did. When the heart rules the mind, baby. I love that.
Yeah, okay. I know I'm showing my age there a little bit, but yeah, I remember buying the magazine, Guitar Player magazine, and reading all about it because I was a big Steve Howe fan. So, I was like, these two guys, cool.
I love them in all their incarnations. I happen to be a bass player and as well as a drummer and a keyboard player. I do most of the instruments on the record, and but as a bass player,
that's fantastic.
My biggest influences are Geddy Lee, John Entwistle, and Chris Squire.
Yeah.
As well as
my brother plays bass. My older brother, he will play for you. He will play 2112 for you, note for note, the whole freaking record. I wanted to kill him growing up. I wanted to kill him. When I tell you I wanted to kill him, I wanted to kill him. But he could play that. He can play the album from beginning to end still. He's like 5 years older than I am, and he could still do it, man. He learned the whole thing. I was like, you're sick, Robert. You're just sick, And then I was just learning how to play. So, learning how to play, you're checking out like Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen until you find out guitar players. And talk about sweetheart guitar players, I know exactly what you're talking about, how that guy just went, over the top, did the whole thing, no problem. I happened to meet Eric Clapton, and he was just the loveliest person in the planet. And I just remember shaking hands with him, and he had the softest hands on top of it. I know it sounds kind of weird, but for a guitar player, he was such a gentleman. I was like, this is why you're you, man. You know what I mean? I was like, you're you because God, just listen to you talk, and you forgot about the guitar thing, and you start looking at the man and all the work that he's done, and you go, wow, and then he ended the conversation with, he said, well, if you need me, you know where to find me. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I was in a band on Atlantic for a long time,
Okay.
and I met him in Malaysia, of all places.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, some people say, you don't want to meet your heroes.
You don't,
But,
some of them.
Obviously, you and I have had different experiences.
Yeah, I've met Robin Sander, though, and he was a complete jerk, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And I was a huge Cheap Trick fan. Yeah, man, he was
met Robin Sander.
Yeah.
So I met Robin Sander. I had the opposite.
Everyone has told me that. I'm friends with the Nelson twins, and they have told me the same thing.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I must have caught him on a bad day.
Yeah, you probably did. He did a School of Rock, I think it was, or not School of Rock. It was something similar, where he was like the rock star that came on stage with this group of people on Broadway, and he sang a couple Cheap Trick stuff and met him backstage, and he was a nice dude. But maybe you caught him on a bad day.
Maybe I did. He had a solo album out at the time. I was in a band I was on Atlantic for about 4 years with this one pop band for a while, and we had a big hit. And we did like kind of this radio thing out in Cincinnati, and he had a solo record out at the time. And the Nelson twins, you know, which I made friends with really fast, not because of them, because my father was a big Ricky Nelson fan. So I hit it off like with the twins, like no problem. So I'm like, yeah, he said, just go introduce yourself. And I did, and it didn't go so good. So, but... yeah, I probably caught him in a bad day. It was like a junket, you know. They called it a star party or something like that. So.
Yeah, I will say that Cheap Trick is responsible for me having a little bit of hearing damage. The loudest show I have ever attended in my life, and I've attended a lot of shows, was Cheap Trick at the Beacon Theater in Manhattan. I don't remember how long ago, probably 15 years ago. And it was so loud that, I mean, to this day, I don't have the hearing in my left ear that I should have. Let's put it that way. So, but it was a great show, and I love the band.
Oh, I love the band. I love the music. And everyone I have talked to has the same sentiment. So I could have been wrong, and I caught him on a bad day. But I will say that, you know, because a lot of people will say you don't want to meet your heroes, and that's my example of that, you know. So that's great to hear about Steve Hackett. That just blows me away. That's incredible. And I love GTR. It was so great. It was really, really good. I remember I bought the Guitar Player magazine. I read the Horde article. I learned a bunch of the parts in it and everything. And that's how I learned that Genesis had another guitar player at a different time. I didn't even know that. You know, I knew the genesis of what, you know, we knew at that time.
Yeah, I mean, Genesis went through all these different eras, and when GTR came out, that was the era where Genesis were pop stars, and so a lot of people didn't know from Peter Gabriel and Steve Hackett even being in the band.
Yeah, and the misconception that Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins hate each other and stuff. I saw an interview with all of the Genesis people, and on what's it called, Access TV or whatever. And they were like, yeah, everyone thinks. And he's like, yeah, no, it never was like that. It was like, I don't hate him, he doesn't hate me. And they're all sitting around, they're laughing about, you know, how people started rumors about how they didn't like each other. He goes, no, that was not the case whatsoever. And you believe it or not, I'm glad I remembered because I said Phil. I interviewed Simon Collins, his son. He had a record out about 6 months ago called Becoming Human. And he went on the road and did a bunch of UK dates, and he played drums with his dad and stuff. Yeah, his stuff is pretty good, man. You know, when you're talking to him though, man, you gotta concentrate because you're talking. And we did a Skype thing, and it was like looking at his dad, man, like 10 years, 20 years ago. And he was a great fella, man. He was so nice. I played something on slide for him that he wanted. You know, he lives in Ireland, and he was so cool, man. I couldn't believe it. I said, oh yeah, you know, I used to live in Miami. I used to live in Miami. He goes, oh man, I lived in Miami too, and blah blah blah. It's such a nice guy. And I was like, wow, holy crap, this is Phil's son. And he drums too.
Yeah, well, you know, Phil is my hero. You know, I took up drums because of Phil Collins. I mean, I'm also a Rush head, and obviously Neil Peart is, you know, considered the best. But for me, every decision that I make playing drums, I think, what would Phil Collins do? Like, he's just, you know, when I was growing up and I was listening to those Genesis live records, I'd be air drumming to what Phil's doing, or Chester Thompson, and then Phil would join him during instrumental passages and have the double drum thing working, and it was just so intense, and I was so intrigued by it that, you know, I follow Phil Collins wherever he goes. And I saw Genesis on their final tour, and it was sad because Phil can't play anymore because of his back injuries played with him, and he was unbelievable. He was tremendous, and you see Phil sitting in his chair, kind of air drumming along to what his son's doing, and you know, it was still a great show, and I would not have not gone seen it because, like I said, they're my favorite band, but you know, Phil is just, to me, all time as far as drummers and decision making, and just also a great frontman and one of the best, along with his bandmates, Tony Banks and Mike Rutherford, I think 3 of the best songwriters that I've ever heard.
And Simon had nothing but to say that all the guys in Genesis, quote verbatim, he said, they're lovely, lovely gentlemen. I've known them all my life. He goes, they are such nice, sweet people. That's exactly what he said. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, they're all so nice and perfect gentlemen. And he goes, I've known them for, you know, most of my life. And he goes, and they're just so, so nice. And I was like, really? That's great to hear, you know? That's awesome. So in a kind of round way, you know, it was funny when this came up, the radio promoter, I said, oh yeah. I said, I want to talk to him definitely right away. Because I have things to talk about, you know? Where a lot of people would be like, tell me about your record, you know? But, you know, obviously I play, and I do, and I've been doing this radio gig thing for about 4 years now, and it's not a bad thing. I used to be on the other end, now I'm on this end, which makes it a lot easier. You know what to ask, what not to ask, you know, sometimes.
Well, dude, I think we're vibing. I mean,
oh yeah, definitely. I'm not even gonna touch this. I'm not editing it at all right now. Everything's going so good. So you said the single was Haunted, right? One of them.
I'm sorry.
The single, the first single is Haunted.
Yes. Well, basically, yeah. In the U.S., the single, quote unquote, is Haunted. I'm pushing to do you in the UK a little bit more because of Steve being on it. But Haunted is a track that I'm really, really proud of. It actually features my cousin, Karen Abrams, on co-lead vocals with me. So it's a duet. And then it features my daughter, Sophie Jane, singing on it, and my brother-in-law, Fernando Chirinos, who is a well-known guitar player down in Peru. And he goes,
get out. I grew up in Lima, man. I grew up in Lima. Swear to God.
Oh, wow.
I lived in Lima for 10 years. I was born in Ecuador. I'm an American. I was born in Ecuador. And my father's business was in Lima. And I lived in Lima for like 10 years.
Wow.
No kidding. No kidding, man. And, you know, I just seen the stuff that's been going on in Peru. I go, oh, that's nothing. That's every day. It's been like that for as long as I've been alive.
Oh, boy. We don't want to get into what's going on.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's just, it's been bad. We got kicked out of the country, man. After 10 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah, my dad was, like, down with the president and everything. My dad was a pilot and a skydiver. He had the Golden Knights from the U.S. come, and they did this big exhibition. So he was on the news on Sunday nights and whatnot. And he got real friendly with the president one night, overnight, man. I'm not joshing you one bit. We had like 2 nights to get out, everything. And we lived in this huge house in Lima, in this great neighborhood. It was called El Olivar. And it was by a park. He'll know what I'm talking about. And yeah, I mean, we had like 2 days to get out, and that was it. And we ended up back in Ecuador for about a year, and then we moved here to the U.S. So I don't know what that was all about. You know, there's rumors and things that I hear with my family, but you know, I've asked my dad about it. He goes, nah, he just got pissed off at me. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, man, I lived in Lima for 10 years, man. That's crazy. Peruvians, the Peruvians, you wouldn't have the cajon without the Peruvians. They had that thing years ago. They invented it. Thank you very little.
Yeah, right. I
They
remember
did.
going to some museum down there that was like gold and guns. Like part of the museum was all gold and stuff, and then you go downstairs and it was all guns. And I thought that was
Yeah, man, Peruvians, they're great. The food, man, forget it. The food, best food in South America, guaranteed. I don't care what anybody says. I've eaten in Argentina. I've eaten in Chile. Yes, you guys have great wines, but you do not have Peruvian food. Peruvian food is fantastic. If you've never had it, try it. You will not be disappointed.
I know, I agree, man. I ate very well down there. It was great. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been to Lima. God, way too long. Too long to even. My father owned a small airport out in Coyique, which was out near the desert, where him and all his skydiving buddies used to go out there and, do their thing out there.
Yeah, I used to go to. There's something called Playa de Blanca. It's this beach community about an hour and a half from Lima, and just ridiculous, like gated kind of thing, and pool on the top of the building where my sister-in-law lived, and then like you go into this little area where it's like a mall, but it's also got clubs and restaurants, and yeah, it did some damage down there.
Yeah, Peru, man, they know how to party, definitely. Pisco sour. Pisco sour all the way. That is fantastic. So, in the Steve Hackett one, I can't wait to play that. So, we're going to play Haunted right now. Okay, that was fantastic, man. That was really, really good. I loved it. I could see why it's your favorite.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I worked hard on that. I had that riff, that bass riff in my head for a long time, and it was also just a
That's something you don't hear every
just a
day.
pleasure.
I had a bass riff.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bass player by trade, but like I said, I'm also a drummer, keyboard player, guitar player, singer, songwriter, producer, all that stuff. Yeah, this was a bass riff that I had, and my favorite thing about Haunted and about the record really is just, even though most of it was a DIY kind of thing, me playing most of it, to get some of my close family members and friends involved was just a thrill for me. So to have my cousin Karen sing with me on Haunted, she's done the national anthem at some, I think, NBA and NHL games in the past, and her voice is just tremendous.
Wow.
And like I said, to get my daughter on it early on, because she loves music and loves classic rock, and my brother-in-law, who's just shredding on it. To me, that's what makes, as much as I love the track itself, just the able to get them on it and to interact with them and to watch them in the studio was just a thrill for me.
Yeah. Anytime you can get a family member involved, that's how, like, the current band that I'm in, and finally the final band, which I will never be in a band again. It's called Polly Lane, my last name, and originally the band started that way because my brother Joe, my other older brother, I'm one of five, I'm the middle one, he plays drums and percussion, and Robert played bass. So, we'd get together and we'd jam out, this, that, and the other. And my brother Jody just, threw it out one day. And he said, oh, we should just call the band, Mr. Polly, like Dad. I'm like, okay, sure. And then later on, I used to have this R&B singer that I was working with and whatever. He did something on the radio out in L.A., and he called me, and I did an interview with him, and he said, so what's happening down Polly Lane this week or whatever? And, that stuck. And, that's why I named the band. Yeah, like a street, but, yeah. My first name's Wyatt, like it or, and my father's a Wyatt, and my grandfather was a Wyatt, so. And they're from West Virginia,
Right.
Go figure. Yeah, and I was born in Ecuador and lived in Peru, man. Forget it, My father worked in the trucking and the moving industry for over 40, 50 years. So he started in West Virginia, and then he moved to Puerto Rico, and he worked for Allied Band Lines. He was like the youngest salesperson around the world. And that's how we ended up in Peru and Ecuador and places like that. Places that were in turmoil, the company would send a representative for all the Americans that wanted to get out as soon as possible. My father would be there to facilitate these things, and that's why we moved around a whole bunch. He wasn't in the army or anything.
Wow.
He was the moving man. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he would just go there and he'd take us with us. So we never knew what was going on until you got older, And then we moved here to the U.S. and you go, man, that was kind of crazy, man. Yeah, but that's what you were used to, And then all the skydiving guys is always just hanging out at our house. So it was a good period for my dad. It was a good period for me. It was fun. I enjoyed living in Lima a whole lot. I really did. And my dad made a lot of really, really good friends there that still to this day, they're his compadres, man. They still get together and, talk shop and whatnot. They're all pilots and skydivers and stuff like that, which I can kind of relate, but not relate because of the music thing, Like when you spend time with guys like that doing kind of crazy things like that, it's like going on the road with a band. Whenever you see that guy that you've been on the road with that you liked or whatever, they're your family no matter what. Whether it was one tour or 2 weeks or whatever, living on the road with guys, you really get to know them and you share special relationships, definitely. Different than everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, like, my wife will say, she goes, sometimes I understand the musician talk, man. I swear you guys have your own languages with the boom and the tap and the thing and the ding and the na-na-na and the key and the... She goes, forget it.
Right.
She's in medical field, so she's like... She goes, it's more difficult than medicine. I'm like, no, it's not, actually. So... All right, man. Why don't you introduce this next track, the one with Steve Hackett? What's it called?
It's called You Do You.
All right,
It's
man.
basically about it's about people going their own way, breaking up, and saying, "Hey, you go do your own thing."
I got it, man. I dig it. I definitely do that. I have a conga player that says, "Hey, man, you do you." You know, that's why we're all individuals.
Yep.
So he goes, "No, man, it's cool. That's you, man. That's what you do." I don't know if it's an insult or he's trying to get out of it nicely.
Yeah.
All right, man.
It
So
works. It's a universal thing. It's a universal thing.
definitely.
Something.
yeah.
You do you.
Yeah, you know what? When I played that song the other day, and then I had this woman, her name is Johanna Saint-Pierre, from France, from Paris. She had a song called "Do It," and I played that song right after, and it was kind of like a house type record. I'm like, oh, just you should have listened to it first before you played it. The song's great. Don't get me wrong; she's a great artist, but the songs did not match. But they looked good on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fantastic, man. I've had Hugo and Pete and JJ and everyone from Quite Great PR. I've been talking to them for about a week, trying to nail down a time. We were supposed to do sometime last week, but you had Chicago booked already. So here we are, man.
Yeah, maybe.
You got a lot of
Yeah,
dates
maybe
coming
like-
up, I've seen also, with some very special guests. If you could fill us in on that, that would be great for the listeners.
Yeah, well, I got a release date coming up, and then, we're going to see from there what the plans are going to be. Right now, my focus is to really promote this record as much as I possibly can. As far as doing live dates, that's something that I may do. I'd have to put a band together because, like I said, I basically played everything on the record. And it's something that I might do if it makes sense. And going from there, the idea is to just get the word out, see what kind of traction I can get, and if it makes sense, do live dates and do another record. I mean, my favorite thing in the world to do is record music.
Right.
And I would love if I could just record for the rest of my life. But it's something that, you have to have the resources to do, especially if you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And, it's one thing if you're in a band and you can split the costs. If you're doing this as a solo project like I did, and you're bringing in some special guests, you have to make sure that you can do that and pay the bills and do everything that, you have to do to live life the way you want to live it. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that for this record, and I hope that continues. And that's the goal.
That is fantastic. So tell us where we can find you, all your social stuff and all of that, because I think people are going to want to listen to it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of bands that like a lot of the people that you mentioned that are on this show that will definitely listen to it and check it out for sure. What's great about doing some of these shows from the UK and all these, hands down. I was doing the numbers the other day. About 4 or 5, I got about to 10. There's no competition as far as UK rock bands to great US rock bands. Yes, we have plenty of them, but hands down, man, the numbers don't lie. So,
I know, man. That's why I'm doing a UK push, because most of
that's
my
what I
influence
did,
comes
man.
from the UK.
Yeah, I think you're definitely on the right track. I could not get arrested here after having a big hit here for anything. So what I did is I recorded an album, exactly what I wanted to do. Went in with the guys, recorded it live. all the other ones I do by myself, just like you, and have guest players and whatnot come in. And I play with a guy from Tokyo, crazy stuff. So I kind of went into that, and I just hating everything about music and where it's been and where it's going. So I'm like, you know what? And all the people that I knew, all they knew is that group that I was in that genre. So they would never accept that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like a rock band. And it was a crazy alternative Americana kind of rock band. It still is at times. And so we went in. I said, you know what? I'm just going to try this out first. And I went on Twitter and looked up, and I found a few radio stations, and I started getting it played. And before you knew it, within 6 months, I had a deal with a company out in the UK, a record company in the UK. Miss Pauline, man, she saved my life. She really did.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great thing, because I had a lot of back publishing too, from being on Atlantic and stuff. So that was also very appealing to her, and all this stuff that I had. She was like, wow, you got all these videos. I'm like, yeah, but I'm over here because I don't want them to know that. And I said, and the record did not break, in the UK. It broke all over Southeast Asia, humongously, and all over, the United States. And it was a top 5 single. It went gold. Probably sold about 3.5 million. But, it's a while ago. Let's just leave it at that. And, so I went to the UK to kind of like get away from that completely, because I'm like, that's all they know me for, and there's no way that anyone's going to take me seriously. So I did that, and that's where I've been, man. I've been doing all that. I just concentrate in the UK, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think it's a right move. It worked for me, man. It really did. So, And it's fun, man. When you go over there, I know you're a New Yorker. I lived in New York for a long time. I lived off Myrtle Avenue in Queens for a long time. Glendale neighborhood. Glendale, Ridgewood, out in Queens. And it's like they took New York and flipped it upside down. You know what I mean? And there was an English guy sitting to me in the train, because there was an American sitting across from me in the tunnel. And we're talking, he goes, yeah, that's what my husband said. And then the wife looked at him, she goes, yeah, but they did it first. Because we were talking about the tunnel like the subway, So, and they were like, yeah, but he keeps saying, yeah, it's like New York, but upside down. He goes, yeah, but this was around like 150 years before we were. So... It was a funny moment.
Gotcha, man.
Yeah, it was a funny moment happening right in front of me, and the guy next to me, he goes, yeah, we did do it first. I go, how'd you guys do this? He goes, we did it by hand, man. By hand and shovels. I was like, wow.
That's what you gotta do.
Yeah.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, man. So good luck to you in the UK, man. Definitely. I think you will have great success. And you know what? It's yours for the taking, man. You know what I mean? No one says you can't. Go out and do it. Promote it till you're blue in the face. You know what I mean? I'm sure you used to get no. I've got no 100 million times, but out of one of those 100 million times, someone will say yes.
Yeah, so I mean, no one's gonna hand anything to you. So
no.
That's what I've been learning, is that I have to do this myself, just like I did the record. And I realized that the promotion part is just as important as the creative part. In fact, I was reading one of these books about the music industry, and they quoted Bill Gates basically saying something along the lines of, if I had only $1, I would use 50 cents on PR. And, that got me thinking. He's right. I mean, people don't know that you did the album, and I don't care if you made the Led Zeppelin 4. If people don't know it, then it doesn't matter. It's like if a tree falls in the forest, did it make a sound? So I'm now putting the same effort into PR that I did making the record, which is maximum pedal to the floor and just doing everything I can to get the word out. And so I'll give you my my links. Basically, I'm JShell, which is JShell, and then the website is JShellmusic.com. You can find all the information there on my record In My Head, coming out on February 14th. My Instagram is instagram.com/JShellmusic. My TikTok is tiktok.com/@JShellmusic.
I want to see some dancing, Jay.
My YouTube channel is youtube.com/@JShellmusic. And the Twitter account, which is @JShellmusic as well. And, just trying to get the word out. And Wyatt, I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I think you and I have a lot of the same interests in life.
I was going to say to you, after I put this show together and I put it out on Thursday, we're going to stay in touch and we're going to do some stuff, man, for sure. We come from the same mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Haha, you like that mindset in my head? Dun dun dun. Listen, man, I'm just an idiot I'm just an idiot that's stalled adolescence guitar player, man. Been very lucky to keep making records, and I'm blessed, so I keep at it and keep going, and keep making music with other people, and that's the fun of it. That's how you catch lightning in a bottle, I think. It's when you play with others and collaborate, Sure, you could be great all by yourself, do everything by yourself, but if you don't have certain inputs from other people, I believe, it kind of like...
I agree.
You don't know whether you're doing it right or wrong, Really.
Put it this way, when I was never really a guitar player. And then when I was done tracking all the drums and bass and keyboards, and I was ready to lay down guitar, it occurred to me that, if you're doing a rock record, the sound of the guitar, especially the rhythm guitar, is going to dictate a lot of how your record's going to sound. And I decided to say, well, I'm going to do it, because if I bring in a rhythm guitar player, even if the songs take on a sound that I didn't think of and would sound maybe better to some people, I wanted it to be my vision. So I ended up just powering through and basically being the rhythm guitar player. But at the same time, I knew that for lead guitar, I'm not a lead guitar player. I played 3 of the solos, but I have, other than me, there's 8 other guitar players on this album, because I wanted to collaborate with people to get their sounds as far as the solos were concerned, because once the rhythm is down, then the solos, I wanted to take on the personality of the player that was playing it, because that's when, for me, the magic was happening. And then I have all sorts of other collaborators, on vocals and trumpet and trombone and French horn. I even have a flute solo, because I ran a Jethro Tull play on one song. And
Make friends with Drew from the Delirium Trees. He's a professor at the University of Scotland, and he teaches brass. And he is fantastic cornet player and trumpet player, and he's a super, super nice guy. And if you need any horn, man, you just call him up and he'll do it. Just send him the track and he'll do it. Super nice guy. Drew Jarvie from the Delirium Trees. Really, really cool guy. He played with Nazareth.
Cool.
Actually, he used to play with Nazareth.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he's a keyboard player by trade, but he teaches brass.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, I'll definitely...
he's just...
offline.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I'm going to finish this show up for you. Put the songs in, this, that, and the other. I'm going to give you a text tomorrow, and we're going to chat and do some more, man. And I'll get you some of these people's emails, because I'm sure they'll be interested to work with you, for sure. Definitely Drew. Drew is a fine musician and an incredible keyboard player. Studies all them Russian guys. You know what I mean? Concerto piano guys. He's the real deal. You know what I mean? But awesome keyboard player also at the same time, as far as today's sounds and everything. When I tell you he's got keyboards, he's got keyboards like you and I have guitars, put it that way. Yeah, and they cost a lot more money.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's
Well,
fantastic.
This was a pleasure, Wyatt.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. I'll be in touch with you, man. And good luck with this. And I will push it for you, man, as much as I can. You know? Definitely. And I wish you the best of luck. And I will be in touch with you tomorrow. We could, I know a couple of other people that could help you out, too. So, as far as radio stations and program directors and people like that I know. Definitely help you.
That's awesome. And maybe one day we'll make some music together.
I think that's in the future for sure.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
All right, man. Very nice meeting you, and I'll give you a shot tomorrow.
All right, Wyatt. You take care, buddy.
All right, my man. Truly, it was a pleasure indeed to talk to Jay. Great musician, great guy. We had so much in common that we could have went on for another hour easily. Go check it out, man. The videos, the music is really, really good. That was just 2 tracks of it, and the quality and sonically is just fantastic, and he's a fantastic guy. We both lived in New York. I mean, he still lives there. I lived there for a while. We had so much in common, so much to talk about. It was unreal, and the Peruvian connection, that was just crazy, and the Genesis thing and Steve Hackett. I mean, it all kind of just made full circle in my past year all the way around Genesis, which is so strange, which means something's going to happen with Genesis here soon. Or I'm going to be in Genesis, one or the other. Who knows? Anyway, it's my time to sign out. Thank you for listening to the show. And thank you to JShell and In My Head, his songs. Go pick them up. Go look at the videos. It's worth it. It's really, really cool. And Drew Jarvie, we threw his name in there. Maybe we'll throw you in the hat and give you a call. He's just a fantastic all-around guy. It's time to say goodbye. I'll see you here next week on the radio. And like I always say, be nice to each other. It doesn't cost a thing. You don't even have to open up your wallet. Donate to the ASPCA and St. Jude's Children's Hospital.org. For the little kids with cancer, man, that can't afford treatment. So, till then, I will catch you next week with tons of more new music. All right, this has been Wyatt on the radio. I'll catch you soon, and I'll see you around. Be good to each other. I know it's hard, but try. All right, man. See you.